with Jason Clemens, DC. Hey, social media people, we're on. We're live. We're live from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas. We're on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM, 987radio.com, all over the world. We're now on social media, and we're on Facebook. We'll be on the Facebook page at Walk by Faith here shortly. We'll be probably on the Walk by Faith Twitter page as well. And I was just checking right before we got online. I just checking on my guys in Ruidoso. I don't know exactly what's going on, and I saw a video that said that it was horrible up there. That they're having the worst storm or the worst flood ever. So I got some texts sent out, checking on Dr. Fraley up there, see if he's doing okay. And if anybody's got any information about that, I sure would be glad to get it. You can send me a text, 806-794-0400, 806-794-0400. And it'd be really great if anybody knows anything about that. Those guys, man, what a mess. That's flooding everywhere. And I just know that those guys up there, they just can't, that every day when it all that burn scar and all that stuff they've got on the mountain, it just floods it all back down right through the town. And they almost lost the town last year from a big old fire, and now they're just dealing with those floods. And Dr. Fraley said last year he had about 8 foot of mud in his parking lot at his chiropractic office up there, and had to have a tractor come through every day and get all the mud out of his parking lot. Just completely washed all of the asphalt and everything out of the parking lot. And he had to have his whole building redone because of the smoke damage. He didn't get any fire, but he got smoke damage, and he just got back in there last month or two from all that stuff that went on last year. So I'm just been checking on them to see how they're doing, and I hope they're doing okay. We're going to go on with it. And that's the one thing about Lubbock, Texas. You don't have to worry about a flood. We might get hit by a tornado, or we might have some sort of wildfire or something around here, but we're not going to get, I don't think so. It'd be crazy if we actually got washed away in a flood. So, man, that's crazy. All right. Conversations we had today, some good ones. Had some good conversations. One thing that we did was we adjusted several pregnant moms this week, and today actually. So you guys that are not sure about that, can pregnant girls get adjusted? The answer to that question is yes, they can. Adjusted a 20-week and a 12-week pregnant ladies today. I think that was it of the pregnant ones, but both of them will get adjusted all the way through their pregnancy, and then we'll just there's 3 of them. I have another one that was pregnant that just found out that she's pregnant. So I thought there was another one. There's three pregnant girls that we got adjusted today. When you take care of families and you take care of wellness, and you're not a back pain clinic, then you get the whole family. So I adjusted mom, dad, and the little one. The little one is 14 months old. So adjusted all of them, and then they've got that second one on the way. And then we've got another one. I adjusted mom and 2 little ones. The oldest child I've adjusted for several years. She's probably 7 or 8 years old now, and been taking care of them the whole, since she was a little one. So she came in here when she was a little one, and then her brother came along. We got him adjusted. Now our little sister come along, and we got her adjusted, and now we got mom getting adjusted while number 4 comes along. So a lot of fun when you do wellness chiropractic stuff, and just little stuff that coordination. We talked about it last night. We're going to get back into this article again, and we're going to go through some stuff, and then later we're going to talk about walking, which I think will be pretty cool. But it's really fun when you just think about how the nervous system is running the body, how it's so important to integrate movement from the body into the brain, how it's so important to make sure that there's no interference between the two. I was listening to Jordan Peterson's relatively new book, driving back and forth from Littlefield today, and it was interesting when he talked about two different times um, when Jesus went up on the mountain and he took some of the disciples with him and he got transformed right before their eyes, and they said his face was shining so bright. It was like a bright, like bright as the sun, right? And then the second time was the next story was, well, when Moses went up on the mountain and talked to God, and then came back down, and his face, he had to cover up his face because his face was so white that with light that it scared all the people there. And I thought when I was listening to that story in that book, Why We Wrestle with God was the name of the book by Jordan Peterson. And while I was listening to those stories, I thought to myself, that's light, right? And light is lux, and sublux is less than light. And that's chiropractic. That's what we do. That's why we adjust. You get adjusted because you don't want to be in a state less than light. That's it. That's the reason that you get adjusted. And if you were in a state of complete light, you would be bright as heck. I mean, you'd be so bright, people would get scared to look at you. You'd be so bright. You'd have that much light coming out of you. You'd just be like full of the Spirit, and you just be like bright and shiny. People would just be like, "Whoa, man, that person's." It's like just like take your eyes and make you squint a little bit whenever you get into that situation. Like that you're so bright. So a subluxation, a state less than light, is the reason you get adjusted. And the question is, do you want to be in that kind of light, or do you not want to be in that kind of light? It has nothing to do with your pain. That's a nonsensical, ridiculous thing that we've dumbed it down to make it applicable to more people on Earth, so that people will come get adjusted. It's like it's a sales tactic. It's almost like a furniture store. We went to a certain furniture store this weekend. They were telling us about this mattress, and it was an expensive mattress. And we were talking about this mattress, and if you bought the mattress, you got a massage chair that went with it. Well, there was another mattress that was better for us. So we didn't, and they were the same price. They were the same price. They were $4,800. I was like, holy crap, that's an expensive mattress, right? But there, so there, but if you bought the other mattress, you didn't get the massage chair. It was only if you bought this mattress. And so we looked at it and said, no, she doesn't like that one. She likes that other one better. Um, and and so I'm not going to buy this one. It's her second best choice. I'm not going to buy her second best choice. I want to buy her first best choice, but I don't think I want to spend $4,800 on this mattress. Well, guess what happened? We went through the weekend. We didn't buy the mattress, and then I got a text from the salesperson, and they said, "Guess what? Your favorite mattress just went on sale, 54% off." They tried to sell it to us for $4,800, and now we're going to get it for $2,200 if we want the same mattress 48 hours later. Right? That's a sales tactic. That's like, and I'm whatever. They can run their business however they want to. But if I would have bought the mattress on the weekend, I'd have had to pay $4,800 for it. And instead, if I could buy it now, I could buy it for $2,200, which is a lot closer to probably what it's worth. But the point of it is that, man, you got to watch out for that stuff. You got to watch out for those sales tactics. I try not to do that to you on the show. I try not to throw any sales tactics at you. I just try to talk about science and support. And I'm going to talk to you about some supplements in a second, but I'm not selling you a sales tactic. I'm just telling you there. Look, if you want some support, these supplements are good for you. And so, well, the whole point of that whole long story was, look, back pain, chiropractic back pain deal is one little bitty piece of the whole story. It's not the story. The story is about trying to keep your nervous system as free of interference as possible so that you can shine your light as bright as you can. That's what it's all about. That's why moms get adjusted. That's why pregnant girls get adjusted. That's why little children get adjusted. And I read things about negative things that happen in chiropractic offices, and all I can say is it's not been my experience in 21 years as a chiropractor, and in 25 years working in chiropractic, and at 38 years of being a chiropractic patient. I don't. It's not my experience. Whatever those stories are, it's not my experience. It's the same thing that I hear when one of the conversations today was a lady told me that our country is in trouble. It's just going to hell. And I was like, well, it's not my experience. It's like, I don't see it that way. I, I don't watch those TV channels. I don't see it that way. So I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just a different perspective, right? That's kind of what the whole show's about anyway. It's just a little bit of a different perspective. Speaking of supplements, I just thought about these because this one came up. This is Zypan, and Zypan is for digestive troubles, and it's kind of what we recommend. What I recommend here in the office. It's through standard process. It's what I recommend when someone's taking Tums or Rolaids or some sort of proton pump inhibitor, some sort of stomach acid problem issue. Then I'll make the recommendation for Zypan. And we talked about it a week or two ago, but I talked about it twice today. I've talked about it multiple times over the last couple weeks about what's going on and with it. And so I thought I'd just bring it up to you guys tonight. Just let you know you can go to therock.standardprocess.com and you can get your standard process stuff anytime you want it. You can get it. It's called Zypan, and I think it's great if you're having troubles. Now, if you have a lower kind of a digestive tract problem, then we've got some Zymex for you. So you can, if you want some help, you can send me a text or call me or whatever. We'll talk about the different kinds of things that we have going on there. That's it. The other two that I wanted to show you is just um, first one is Neuroplex. And this is nervous and endocrine system health, Neuroplex, because we've been talking for the past several shows. Last night we talked about it. Thursday night we talked about it. We're going to talk about it again tonight about the integration of the nervous system and the body and movement. And so when we're talking about the integration of the body and movement, what we're talking about is the body sending the information to the brain and the brain processing that information. But one of the things that Neuroplex kind of brings up to us is how many different pieces of information are being transferred into the brain. And it's not just joint biomechanics. It's not just your movement systems and the receptors that go along with your movement systems. But think about it for a second. Your liver is talking to your brain. Your stomach is talking to your brain. Your intestines. Remember we talked about the neuropod cells that Diego Borregas is the one that showed us about the neuropod cells, right? The I think from Duke. You can look them up if you want. Neuropod cells. Your small intestine is talking to your brain. That's information that your brain is receiving from your intestines. Your brain is receiving information from all of your body parts. There's a lot of it going on right there. And Neuroplex, let me read this to you because this is the indications is endocrine support, brain support, hot flashes, PMS, support for appetite control. Commentary. This is a hypothalamus supported product containing hypothalamus and pineal glandular substances. The hypothalamus is a versatile part of the brain and coordinates the endocrine system with the central nervous system. We've talked about that before. The hypothalamus is where you regulate your temperature, right? So you send the cytokines to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus turns up the temperature. You get a fever. There's another example of the body communicating with the brain. These two systems, the most powerful in the body, communicate their functions and status to each other. Let me back up. The hypothalamus is a versatile part of the brain that coordinates the endocrine system with the central nervous system. These two systems, the most powerful in the body, communicate their function and status to each other through the hypothalamus gland. It plays a crucial role in human emotions, basic physical life processes. Unresponsive endocrine or nervous disorders may require hypothalamus support to engage the rest of the therapy. So that's one of them. That Neuroplex is one of them that a person can take to help regulate that. It's just food for the brain. Standard process is just food for the brain. What is Neuroplex? It's a proprietary blend, Spanish moss bovine orchid cytosol extract, porcine brain PMG extract, bovine spleen, ovine spleen, defatted wheat germ, bovine hypothalamus, bovine anterior pituitary, bovine liver, calcium lactate, porcine brain, bovine pituitary PMG extract, and absorbic acid. That's the proprietary gland. So it's like eating food. It's like eating if you were eating. And one of the things that Royal Lee always talked about was if an animal in the wild will eat the part of the other animal that they are deficient in. So if they're having a liver problem, they'll eat the liver out of the other animal. So this is a brain type of situation. So there's some brain extract that is coming from this to help support the brain of the person that actually takes it. And I know that's a little strange. You might, the first time you hear it, it might be a little strange to you. You might be like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm going to eat the brain out of an animal because I'm trying to support my brain. Yes, that's kind of the idea, right? There's parts of that's help or food for our brain. Just like you would eat, you say protein. I want to build muscle. I'm going to eat a steak, right? If I'll make sure I want to get lots of protein. Where are you going to get it from? You're going to eat your steaks, and you're going to eat your chicken. You're going to eat your fish. What are you eating when you're eating those things? You're eating fish muscle. What is a fish? When you eat salmon, what are you eating? You're eating salmon muscle. When you eat a steak, what are you eating? You're eating a cow muscle, right? It's not any different. He's like, don't get all freaked out about it because it's like, look, if you're trying to gain muscle and you're going to eat steak, you want to get the protein from that, then that's what you're doing, right? When you eat a chicken, what are you eating? Chicken breast. What's a chicken breast? It's a pec muscle. I mean, it's the muscle of the chicken, right? And sometimes we eat liver and we get support from that. And sometimes we eat different parts, right? That's the concept. But I just wanted to share that with you. That's one of them. The other one is Neurotropin PMG, and this product supports healthy nerve function and aids in rebuilding damaged nerves, brain trauma, sluggish thought, brain disorders, loss of memory. And it's got its own little proprietary blend with some of that same stuff with some magnesium citrate in it. And there's some stuff in the Neurotropin PMG. So if you need some brain support, then you can go with generally Neurotropin PMG. If you're looking for something specific to deal with hot flashes or PMS type trouble, endocrine support, brain support for appetite control, that would be Neuroplex. Neuroplex would be what you're looking for. And if you want to order it all yourself and you want to go, you can go to therock.standardprocess.com and you can order it yourself. So you can get it anywhere. Like you can get it wherever their standard process is sold. That's what you can do. So, all right, let's get into our article that we were working through last night. I think it's just so fun because there's so much of it that, and then I want to get into a few articles about walking. We'll see if we could get a little further down the road a little bit tonight with this article that we've been breaking down. We've been breaking it down. It's the manipulation of dysfunctional spinal joints and their affect sensory motor integration in the prefrontal cortex. The Brain Source Localization Study, Neuroplasticity 2016. A whole group of people from University of Denmark, College of Chiropractic, University of Ontario, Institute of Technology, and so it was done in Denmark. So we went through a lot of it yesterday. We were getting through some of it. We were talking about these ideas that we were able to show the change in the sensory motor integration that occurs after a spinal manipulation predominantly happens in the prefrontal cortex, right? We were just talking about the brain. We were talking about what goes on in the brain. And then what the prefrontal cortex plays a vital role in sensory motor integration and is responsible for a number of other functions, is a key structure responsible for the performance of executive functions, right? Those are the things that we talked about last night. Executive function is considered to be a product of the coordinated operation of various neural systems and is essential for achieving any particular goal. A change in prefrontal activity following chiropractic care may therefore explain and or link some of the varied improvements in neural function previously observed in the literature, such as improved joint position sense error, improved cortical reaction time and cortical processing. Your brain is reacting quicker and it's processing things quicker. Improve cortical sensory motor integration. You're integrating your body. It's so important. I had a conversation this week about a person that was having trouble walking. And I asked them, they said they had fallen, they kicked their foot, their toes were numb. And I said to them, can you feel your feet? Can you feel your toes? Because think about that. If you can't feel your toes, how hard would it be for you to integrate your body movement into walking, right? So this improved cortical sensory motor integration, improved reflex excitability, which is important. You got to be able to move when you need to, right? Improve motor control, improve lower limb muscle strength, and that's what we're going to talk about when we get. I'm going to tie in some walking concepts to this article. But improve motor control. It's important, right? It's important to have motor control so that we don't fall. I mean, that's a big deal. Falling is a big deal. Especially as we age. We don't want to do that. We want to try to integrate the best we can. So, what we've talked about lots on the show is fuel and activation. Fuel and activation. Fuel in our food, right? We got to get the brain tissue ready to work. We got to give the brain tissue what it needs in order to work. Like you got to give your engine in your car the fuel it needs to work. You may have a perfectly fine engine. Like there's nothing wrong with the engine in your car. But if you're out of gas, your engine's not going to work, right? You got to get it. And kind of what we talked about last week with if you put diesel fuel or gasoline in a diesel engine, yeah, the, putting the wrong fuel in the engine is detrimental to the engine. So that's why nutrition is so important and clean eating is vitally important for brain function. We need that. We need good quality food. And go look around the world at all the people that live to 100 and look at what they're eating. Now, they're not necessarily in following any kind of diet. They're just eating good food. They're eating food from their garden. They're growing food. They're eating good food. They're making sure that they don't even know what they're doing. They're not. I guarantee you, those people in Nicoya, Costa Rica, and those people in Ikaria, Greece, and Okinawa, they're not necessarily cooking the food that they're eating because they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, I really need to make sure that my brain's working properly." No, that's not what they're doing. They're just their brains are working good because of the whole foods that they are eating. It's not necessarily intentional, is what I'm trying to say, right? But we need that. So the brain needs the food, the fuel. The engine also needs the oil. The engine also needs the coolant. I was driving last week to Littlefield, and my engine light came on, and coolant levels are low. It's like, okay, well, what should I do? Just ignore it? Like I just ignore that light? And then I put a piece of tape over that light. That way I don't have to see that light. What do you think would happen to my engine if I just let that dude completely drain down so that it's now I don't have any coolant in my engine? What's going to happen? My engine's going to overheat, right? I'm not going to be able to cool that engine down, and it's going to end up melting something because I don't have the proper fluids in the engine. So it's easy. We need some coolant, we need some oil, we need some gas. We got to get that. Those are things that we got to put into the engine in order to make the engine work like it's supposed to. From a nutrition standpoint, it's the same thing. We got to put the fuel into the body to get the body to work like it is supposed to. Now, the only thing I would say about this is I would just ask you this question. Is your body working as well as you want it to? Like one of my ladies today that's in her late 30s, she's about to turn 40. She had a little issue. She came to get adjusted, and she said, my sister keeps telling me I'm just about to turn 40, and welcome to 40. And it's like, okay, that's an idea. I saw some people today that I hadn't seen in a long time, and they weren't healthier than the last time I saw them. And it very seldom is the case that the person leaves and is healthier. Sometimes it is, but very seldom is the case. And it's like, look, I wondered to myself. I didn't say anything to them, but I wondered to myself. I thought, I wonder if they realize the choices they made since the last time I've seen them till now is making them sicker. I wonder if they think to themselves, like when they asked me, they said, "Hey, Dr. Clemens, how are you? How have you been?" And I've been great. I'm, and if they would have asked me that 4 years ago, I'd have said I've been great. We got to take a break. Snuck up on me right there. Sorry about that, radio people. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. Hang around with us. We're going to talk about walking when we get back. Like I don't know how it works with the idea of how long a person's going to live. I do look at this all the time. I try to look at obituaries every time I see somebody die. I try to look and see, like, okay, how old did they get to be? And it's like, you'll see on the news somebody died, and it's like, whoa, there's a 56-year-old actor that died this week. He's dealing with some sort of cancer or something. And it's like, okay, man, that's a kind of that's a unique situation. Why is that the case, right? Something definitely went wrong if you're 56 and you die from cancer, or like my brother-in-law was 60 and he died from cancer. That's not a chronic problem. There's something that went wrong along the way that created that cancer. Don't know what it is. Don't have all the answers to it, but something went wrong. But when you look at the people that are in their 80s, they're in their 70s, 60, 70, 80, 90. And you look at those people and you look at the things that they're doing and the things that they're eating and all that sort of thing. Every one of them eats sugar, right? That's not the thing. So if they're in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's like, what's the point of life? Like, what are we doing? What are we trying to improve? Because I don't see a bunch of 119-year-old people running around. I saw 114-year-old lady last week, but I don't see a bunch of 119-year-old people running around that have been following these health models all these years. I don't see that. So what I do see, though, is I see people that age well into their 50s and 60s and 70s, and I see people who don't age well into their 50s and 60s and 70s. And it's not a whole lot different than, like a lot of my people my age are retiring. Like they've been teaching school for the last 30 years and now they're retiring. It's like, we're not retiring at the Rock. And it's like the people that have invested their money over a longer period of time, and some of the things that they've done that's worked out really well versus the people that didn't invest their money, and they are kind of in a different situation when they get older. It's like, kind of, the question kind of becomes, what's the situation that we want to be in? What's the situation that you want to be in? And then that's when the nutrition and exercise and all that stuff comes into play. If you don't care, roll the dice, you probably make it somewhere down the road. I mean, maybe you won't die of a heart attack and you just keep on going, right? Hang on. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We are just breaking down some stuff tonight. We've been talking about this article, and I'm getting close to the end of it. I just want to make sure that we get it covered because it's really cool. And there's just a few more points that we'll make, and then we'll move on. The change in the prefrontal cortex, as seen in this study, suggests that the altered input from dysfunctional joints that leads to altered processing of somatosensory inputs can influence processing of somatosensory information by the prefrontal cortex. I know those are big words. Let me break them down for you. The change in the prefrontal cortex, as seen in a study, suggests that when you have a dysfunctional joint, when your joints are not moving the way they're supposed to be moving, that leads to altered processing in the brain of the inputs. It's like, look, we've got this really bad joint right here, and that really bad joint is sending information into the brain in a really bad way, and it's sending that information in a way that's causing the brain to change the way that it integrates that information, and it influences processing information by the prefrontal cortex. It literally changes your brain. Abnormal movement, abnormal joints, dysfunctional joints literally changes your brain, right? Chiropractic care, by treating the joint dysfunction, appears to change processing by the prefrontal cortex. That makes sense, right? And it's not just chiropractic care. It's any type of care that changes a dysfunctional joint and moves that dysfunctional joint towards a more functional joint. It any massage therapy, physical therapy, gua sha, whatever, right? Whatever the thing is, cupping, chiropractic care, exercise, yoga, spin class, whatever the thing is, if any of those treatments cause the joint to function more appropriately, it changes, it improves the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, go back up, right? The prefrontal cortex plays a vital role in sensory motor integration and is responsible for lots of other things. It's a key structure responsible for the performance of executive function. Executive function is the mechanism by which the brain integrates and coordinates the operations of multiple neural systems to solve problems and achieve goals based on the ever-changing environment around us. How do you adapt to your environment? I mean, remember we actually worked through this before. We looked at what adapted, what we're trying to do with when we adapt, right? We actually talked about this. We want to adapt. The idea. Remember, let's go through the 5 stages of the stress response. Number alarm. Number 2, adapt. Number 3, fatigue. Number 4, sick, illness. And number 5 is death. The 5 stages of the stress response. That's it right there. Alarm, adapt, fatigue, illness, and death. Okay. And I got this from Dr. Chestnut. Okay. So now we're going to try to adapt to the environment. We've got to be able to adapt to the environment. If it's hot, we got to sweat. If it's cold, we got to shiver. If it's whatever, we got to adapt. We got to think about all the food that we eat in a day. Think about when you go eat, like you just go to Chick-fil-A and have lunch, or you just go to Pizza Hut and get a pizza, or you just go to wherever, right? Any of those places that, just think about drinking a soda pop, or what? Go think. Just get some good food from the grocery store. Just get some good food, good solid food from the vegetable section of the grocery store, and then think for a second, where has that vegetable been? Where did that asparagus, where has it been? From the very beginning of the plant in the field, how many people have touched that vegetable? It got on some sort of truck. It got on a tractor. It got on a truck. It got put in a box. It got loaded up and hauled. It's got driven down a highway or put on a ship or a plane or something like that. Like, were there any toxins that could have possibly gotten on that asparagus? Like, could the truck gone through some smoke? Could the truck carrying the asparagus been parked, or could it been driving down the highway next to a semi truck that's blowing smoke on it? Like, and then it goes into the warehouse, and then it goes into the grocery store, and then it goes onto the shelf, and then somebody picks it up, and then they put it back down, and then someone else picks it up and they put it back down, and then finally we pick it up and we take it home and we eat it. And hopefully, in the process of all that, we get it clean enough to eat, and we get it washed off, and we cook it, and whatever thing is that we do to it, so that we can make it as as clean and healthy as possible. But we're not all the time, right? We're not doing that all the time. So we're not getting it. The food that we eat is not completely clean. So what happens inside of our digestive tract? We adapt, right? And don't freak out when now that you've thought about it. don't don't freak out about and not eat anything and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm eating toxins." Yeah. Okay. Well, you've been adapting for 40, 50, 60 years, right? You've been adapting for 20 years. If however old you are, don't worry about that. But your body is adapting. You're trying to adapt to your environment. Your microbiome is trying to adapt to your environment. One day you put a vegetable in there, one day you put some sort of candy something in there, right? Some processed ultra refined carbohydrate in there. You're those that microbiome is trying to adapt, right? If it can't adapt, it would be considered unadapted, right? If you couldn't adapt to your environment, another way to say that would be unadapted. And unadaptive physiology in the medical world is called pathology. That's disease. Disease is unadapted physiology. Unadapted physiology happened when you were not able to adapt to your environment. That is the second stage of the stress response. And then you're going to get fatigued. You're going to get tired. You're going to come to me and you're going to say, "I'm just tired. I'm tired all the time." Remember my guy in Littlefield that passed away in his truck? Remember that story? He was tired. He was tired for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And I didn't catch it because he was moving, and I thought he had a reason to be tired. What he was really telling me is, "Dude, I've had an alarm. I can't adapt. I'm fatigued. What's going to happen? I'm going to get sick and die." And that's exactly what he did. He got sick and died just like that. And it was like, but he was in a state when he was fatigued. Are you fatigued? I get it. I hear it all the time. I hear people say it all the time. "Man, I'm tired. I'm just tired all the time. I had a guy tell me that today. I got up early. I had to do a bunch of stuff. I was running around. I'm tired." And it's like, why? Why are you tired? Because you're in a state that you're not adapting to, right? So, what is the article trying to say? And I didn't mean to get stuck on that point right there, but man, I think you guys are getting it. I really do. I think as the more we talk about this stuff, the more we talk about it, then um, the more you see the integration of the whole thing together. It's like we're going through an article, and how many times have we talked about the 5 stages of the stress response? Lots of times. And how many times have we talked about the right side and the left side of the brain? Lots of times. And how many times have we talked about digestion is related to abnormal brain function? Lots of times. Right? It's like we come back in. Fuel and activation. That's not the first time you've ever heard me say that. Fuel and activation, super important. Right? We want to have the good food so that we can fuel the brain, so that the brain can adapt to the environment, so that it can keep us out of that fatigue, illness, death part of the 5 stages of the stress response. So this is this whole idea of the executive function to help us solve problems and achieve goals based on the ever-changing environment around us. The executive function, the brain, helps us adapt, right? Abnormal movement in the joints causes the brain to lose its function, aka inability to adapt to its environment. And what number 14 here says, chiropractic care by treating the joint dysfunction appears to change processing by the frontal cortex. Chiropractic care, getting your body to move the way it's supposed to, appears to increase prefrontal cortex activity, increase executive function activity, increase your ability to adapt to your environment. It gives you a better opportunity to adapt to your environment. Does that make sense? It's pretty awesome if you think about it. The authors of the study assumed that since the spinal manipulation is known to reduce pain and improve function of clinical trials, the observed reduction of the N30 amplitude reflects a beneficial change. Yeah, conclusion. A single session of spinal manipulation or dysfunctional segments in subclinical pain patients alters somatosensory processing in the cortical level, particularly within the prefrontal cortex. The study adds to the evidence that spinal manipulation of dysfunctional joints improves performance of the prefrontal cortical brain as a consequence of altering the afferent input into the brain. Afferent input is input going into the brain. Disafferentation, the wrong signal, is the subluxation. That's my job. That's my job. Every joint, every muscle, all the fascia, the whole thing. Anything that creates disafferentation, that's the subluxation. That's the state less than light. That's the interference in the nervous system. That's the chiropractic need. Someone says, I never needed a chiropractor. I'm like, oh, Lord. That's my fault, man. It's my fault for you saying that. When you say, well, I never needed a chiropractor, I'm like, that's my fault. I should do a better job of explaining to you what chiropractic is. It's like saying I don't need breathe. It's like, yes, you can improve your brain by getting adjusted, and you can improve your ability to adapt. All right. Now, what are some of the things that we do, that we talk about, that's really good for your brain? And let's tie it into the article. Let's tie it into the article right here. The article is saying that dysfunctional joints causes a abnormal function of the brain, right? So we talk about being social, walking, keeping your eyes up and moving back and forth. All right, let's talk about walking for a second. And let's talk about some of the things we can do about walking. All right. Walking is most popular exercise activity. This is the stuff. This is Dr. Hall's stuff from our module, a functional neurology series for the practicing chiropractor, Module 1, Denver in 2022. This is Brain DC stuff right here that we're talking about. Walking is the most popular exercise activity. In recent years, the relatively small group of people in the United States aged 15 years and older who engage in sports or exercise activities on an average day, about 30% walked for exercise, making walking the most popular form of exercise overall. Okay? And some people will say, walking or running is bad for my knees. I actually had a patient tell me that yesterday. She told me, I really think that all of the aerobics and the pounding on my knees were bad for my knees. That's the reason my knees hurt. And I was like, I don't think that's true. It's not. A matter of fact, I said it that way, that I don't think it's true, because I was trying to be nice, but it's false. The exercise and pounding on your knees is not the problem. The problem is the inflammation and the abnormal movement in the joint because of the way that the body is functioning, right? That's just false. Walking is the most benign form of activity for bipeds, 12 to 13 miles a day. Walking provides a weight-bearing stimulus to the brain. Walking is the most popular form of activity and exercise. Walking has physical and mental health benefits. We live and function in a right-sided world. Long periods of sitting impact the extensor muscle length. strength. Long periods of sitting impact the extensor muscle strength. Extensor muscles are the ones on the front of the leg below your waist. Your flexor muscles are on the back. So, long periods of sitting is when you're sitting and your knees are bent. So, you got your knees bent and you're sitting, you got your extensor muscles stretched, and a stretched muscle is a weak muscle. So, we got a problem, and I'm going to show you how important that is here in just a second. Muscle weakness can alter joint movement and function. Muscle weakness can alter joint movement and function. How do we currently measure muscle weakness when walking or running? Right? So that is important. By the way, that muscle weakness is a problem, and um, the human gait. The human gait. This is a study analysis of impairments influencing gait velocity and asymmetry um, of patients after mild to moderate stroke. Archives of Physical Medicine Rehabilitation 84, 2003. Okay. So human gait requires a high degree of symmetry and coordination. Gait asymmetry is associated with reduced walking velocity and increased energy expenditure. Asymmetry. Okay. So let's take those sentences and let's kind of put them all together right there. Muscle weakness can alter joint movement and function. That's a problem, okay? Because altered joint movement and function changes the brain. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to have that. So we don't want to have muscle weakness. We also don't want to have asymmetry, meaning that our right leg is stronger than our left leg. We want to be able to have both of them. And that occurs a lot of times under certain circumstances. That occurs a lot of times in a world, if you live your life and you're always doing the same things in the same direction over and over. Like if you like a chiropractor adjusting from the same side of the table. Like um, if you're always going one direction around your desk, but you're never going the other direction around your desk. Now, I understand when you come back that you're going in the other direction. Just if you're always working one way, like you're always looking one direction or whatever, that those are things that can cause asymmetry, and those asymmetry problems can cause joint malfunctions, dysfunction, and then the joint dysfunction can cause the brain problems. So it's really important that it's really important um, that we keep that going. And I got an article for you right here. Um, and this one is strength asymmetry increases gait asymmetry and variability in older women. Strength asymmetry increases gait asymmetry. One of my guys today was walking down the hall at me, and he was leaning to the right. Now he didn't know he was leaning to the right, but he was tired. When I said, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "I'm just tired today. I'm tired today. I got up early. I've been moving around. I'm tired." But he was leaning as he was walking. That's gait asymmetry. If you look at the way that your feet, like you walk, you step. Are you stepping with good rhythm with both feet? Is your foot on the ground for the same amount of time when you go for a walk, or do you like take a short step and a long step, and then a short step and a long step, and then a short step and a long step? Right? That's gait asymmetry. When we're not moving properly through our walking pattern. And strength asymmetry, meaning that the strength it's not symmetrical. It's asymmetrical. It's without symmetry, is basically what that means. It's like, and it changes the variability in older women. So the purpose of this particular article, yeah, there we go. The aim of the research was to determine how knee extensor strength asymmetry influences gait asymmetry and variability since these gait parameters have been related to mobility and falls in older adults. That's the point. All of this has to come to a point, right? And I know sometimes when I'm talking, you guys are probably thinking, "Oh, really? Just wish you would get to the point." Fair enough, right? That's fine. Okay, so the point is, if we have gait, if we have muscle strength difference, then we can have a problem that leads to falling, right? We don't want to do that. We have a problem with mobility. When you can't move, your world gets smaller. You need to expand that movement pattern. Like my dad at the end of his life, he couldn't move. Like he lived here for 3 or 4 years, 21, died in 24. So he lived in Lubbock for 3 years. He came to my office twice that I remember. In that 3 year period of time, he couldn't move. The only time he left his house is to go. He didn't go to my house the whole time that he was here. He went to the doctor. He went to the doctor's office or he went to the hospital, and that was it. And then otherwise, he was at home. Like the inability to move properly shrinks your whole world down. And what that does is it starts the snowball effect of really getting sick because you're not social and you're not on your feet walking and you're not getting your eyes up and you're not moving, and so your brain goes, and then as soon as your brain goes, your body goes, and then you lose your ability to adapt, right? So it's very important. So the results of this, the conclusion is, and of this particular article, gait variability and asymmetry are greater in older women with strength asymmetry and increase when they walk near their maximal capacities. If you're really trying to walk faster, you increase the asymmetry, and that creates the danger. The maintenance of strength symmetry or development of symmetry through unilateral exercise may be beneficial in reducing gait asymmetry, gait variability, and fall risk in older adults. That's basically what this article is talking about. This particular article is talking about. It's like, look, if we're not strong enough, that's what one of the cool things about the CrossFit type of workout stuff. Like our 80-year-olds, our 70 and 80-year-olds were doing air squats yesterday, and they were squatting to the bench, and I'm watching them to try to make sure that both legs are symmetrical. They're not caving down on one side, right? We don't want that to happen. We don't want to. You don't want to squat down and all of a sudden your right knee just caves in. That's a weakness over there. Now, it could be a muscle weakness or it could be a neurological weakness. Your brain might not be firing properly, which is causing the muscles to be weak. We'll always start with that concept. But it is very important to be able to strengthen your body. You got to be able to walk. Got to be able to step up on a step and down off of a step. You got to be able to squat down and stand back up. You got to be able to get off the ground if you get on the ground. Those things are very important from an integrated standpoint, and it's very important to make sure that our bodies are moving properly the way that they're supposed to move, right? And so there's a physical component to walking, but there's another one I want to show you as well, because Stanford did a study, and where's my Stanford study? Hang on. Stanford did a study, and this is a Stanford walking paper right here. We just got a little bit over a minute and a half. Research report, give your ideas some legs. The positive effect of walking on creative thinking. And the summary of that whole thing, one Stanford study found that walking increased creative output by an average of 60%. Researchers labeled this type of creativity divergent thinking, which they define as a thought process used to generate creative ideas by exploring many possible solutions. According to the study, walking opens up the free flow of ideas, and it is a simple and robust solution to the goals of increasing creativity and increasing physical activity. So, not only does walking help, not only does walking help your brain, not only does walking improve your joints and improve your strength, but walking also opens your brain to the possibilities that there are other options. There, you may explore multiple solutions. And if you explore multiple solutions, then you might find out that it's like, hey, you might create something. You might be more creative if you're moving your feet. As long, we'll take a look at it tomorrow. We're out of time for tonight. Thanks for the comment, Lewis. Hope everything's going good with you. And if you guys, if you got anything for me, send me a text, 806-794-0400. Otherwise, you guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow night at 6.